I'm Beth, and these are my memories. To the complex and precious people who appear in them, thank you. I forgive you, and I'm sorry. You shaped me, and I carry you still. In remembering, I've come to see us all more clearly, not as villains or saints, but as humans doing the best we knew how. I must have forgotten. Until now. I was barely 5 when I started afternoon kindergarten at Hershey Elementary. I was worried. I cried woefully to my mom that I couldn't go. When she scoffed,
Of course you can. Why do you think you can't?
my little tear-streaked face crumpled further.
Because I can't read.
Irony is lost on kindergartners. Mrs. Smith, my teacher, made me feel like I belonged there, and I started to learn quickly. One day, on top of the monkey bars, a boy named Billy tried to lift up my flouncy little ruffled skirt. Instinctively, I gave him a shove. Billy went flying off the top of the welded steel dome and landed flat on his back on the ground, gasping like a fish out of water. Teachers rushed over, and after a few breathless minutes, Billy recovered. I was afraid I would be in trouble, but I wasn't. Another little girl had seen Billy's invasion of my privacy and vouched for my self-defense. I felt bad, certain that I had almost killed him, but mostly I thought he had gotten what he deserved. Bet he never tried that again. A month or two later, it seemed like a normal day until I was suddenly sent to the nurse's office. I felt fine, so I just sat there, confused, impatient to go back to kindergarten. But I wasn't going back. My dad had recently started working second shift, so instead of my mom, he showed up in his green Ford pickup truck and came inside to collect me. I was happy to see him, but nervous that maybe this was delayed punishment for clobbering Billy. Maybe justice had been working behind the scenes. I was finally learning to read. I didn't want to get kicked out now,
You're not in trouble,
he reassured me.
but you have chicken pox.
Dad took my hand in his big rough one, put me in the truck, and headed out of the parking lot and back to East Hip Heights. It wasn't long before I understood why I had to leave school. My skin was on fire. All I could do was lie around and try not to scratch my million itches.
You knew the will was forged, Veronica.
I saw every daytime TV show that existed,
And yet you still serve tea to my identical cousin.
including the ones my great-grandma Zora called stories.
And the cat could not have been alone. There were human fingerprints on the glass that was pushed off the table.
And did more coloring than I'd ever dreamed. I spent a week itchy, polka-dotted, and miserable, slathered in crusty calamine lotion, waiting for the spots to heal. From kindergarten on, I was always one of the youngest in every class. By the end of sophomore year at Normandy High, we had spent 1981 and 82 building bonds between our crew. That group, Jack, me, Tracy Z, Jay, Steve, Keith, Dean, and a rotating cast of nearly a dozen other characters, ate almost every weekend at Santino's Pizza in Parma. Santino's was small, a little grimy, and totally our place. The windows were crowded to opacity with beer signs, and the tiny dining room felt like an extension of the kitchen. The clanging and thumping were inescapable, even from the 6 or 7 tables for customers. It smelled of Italian seasoning, and the red vinyl chairs were all a little bit sticky. The owner had a connection to someone in our group, but I never really knew whose friend he was. They treated us all like family. Jack's friend Steve was sometimes bizarrely contemptuous towards me. We had gotten along okay at the beginning when Tracy and I used to stop to talk to him at his after-school job cleaning the school cafeteria and corridor floors. But it seemed like he didn't think I was good enough for Jack. The tighter Jack and I got, the more viciously Steve hated me. That was okay. You can't get along with everybody. But I always hoped we could reach a point of mutual apathy. I wouldn't bug him if he didn't bug me. No such luck. One weekend at Santino's, Steve had leapt out of his chair, pushed it so hard it fell backwards, and snarled something like,
Why do you like her? She's a powder.
I had not spoken a word or even looked at him. He had just lost it. I wasn't actually a powder. I just had what is commonly known in the vernacular as RBF. Resting bitch face. If I wasn't actively smiling, I looked bummed out or mad. I couldn't help it. Steve didn't like it. Other times he complained that I hogged the front seat of the car with Jack, while he was relegated to the back. Prior to elevation of my status, he had ridden shotgun most of the time. He didn't appreciate the demotion. Ah, well, heavy is the head that wears the crown. On Easter 1982, our group had decided to go bowling, and Jack did all of the pickups as usual. On our way to the bowling alley in his mom's massive brown station wagon, I was in front, and Steve and 2 or 3 others were in back. I only remember the 3 of us: Jack, me, Steve. Everyone else fades into the textured vinyl upholstery and the 80s pop songs on the radio. Steve had worked himself up into a tantrum over some new mysterious slight and sneered at me.
You stupid idiot cow, why don't you take a hike?
Curious insult, since my grades were way better than his, and I always loved cows. Snark aside, I had reached the end of my rope with this guy. I hadn't hit anyone since smacking a toddler's hand when I was 11 and too young to babysit. I didn't even think. I just whipped my arm over the seat and clocked him right in the mouth. Luckily, it was his mouth and not an innocent bystander's mouth. The others sharing the back seat sucked in shocked gasps and then slunk down in stunned quiet, the kind where no one is sure what they think they saw is what actually happened. They had been chatting together and might have missed the preceding offensive comment. I had knocked off Steve's glasses, but hadn't bloodied his lip. He flinched back into the seat and, in a hushed growl, demanded to be taken home.
Just take me home.
Jack tried to lighten the mood by telling us,
Shake it off, hosers.
but no one else spoke. Not to Steve, not to me, not to one another. The silence in the car felt like the end of an age. Steve wouldn't talk to me like that again, I was convinced. And I hadn't even had to shove him off the monkey bars. After dropping everyone off, Jack wasn't mad. He chuckled and said Steve would be fine. He tried to make me feel better and agreed that the comment was awful. He said Steve's hostility had worn me down and my nerves were shot. I think that was true. Steve and I barely ever spoke again after that. Probably should have happened sooner. Despite our bitterness, Steve and Jack were lifelong friends, and so I was stuck with him for a time. After the guys graduated, Tracy Z, and I hung around their summer league baseball team, the Warriors. The summer began to wane, and Jack was starting to have a little anxiety about our separation when he headed to Bowling Green in a few weeks.
I'm going to really miss you.
It was a few hours away, and I would have no way to get there to see him. He would only be able to come home sporadically. I was optimistic that we would be okay, but only time would tell. We tried to make the most of the summer, and it was a great one. We saw live bands at Blossom Music Center. We went bowling. We hung out in some of the guys' families' renovated basements. At the end of July, my 16th birthday rolled around. We went to a Warriors game and afterwards headed to Santino's. I didn't expect a party. I hadn't had a real one since I was little, when my mom took me and some friends to Happy Hollow Park in Lafayette for cake and ice cream. My sister Judith had gotten in trouble for taking the little plastic ballerina off my cake before I got to blow out the candles. For some reason, I had thought she ate the ballerina, but since we didn't end up taking her to the hospital that day, I think that must not be true. But now, for my 16th birthday, just being with my friends, and Steve, who only came out of spite, was enough. We were mid-pizza when someone pulled out a magazine article. Top 10 Sexiest Women's Names. Beth was on the list, which gave everyone a chance to mercilessly razz me.
Ha ha.
Beth.
I couldn't understand how it made that list. It always sounded like a sneeze to me. I think the article had been an intentional distraction. I was still blushing from the teasing when Jay or Roger or maybe Keith came back to the table and set an ice cream cake in front of me. The candles were already lit, ready for the assault of a blowy raspberry. The candlelight was blinding in the dim ambiance of the dining room. I turned to look behind me.
Wait, what?
All that was back there was the kitchen and the bathrooms. I was facing the front door. No one had snuck in here with this cake. But first things first, I made a show of squeezing my eyes closed in a wish, no doubt something saccharine and teenagery.
I wish I could wake up tomorrow. I won't need glasses anymore. My hair will be straight, and Jack will love me forever.
And the requisite song was sung. Most of this group were band people, not choir people, and they jacked up the song with theatrical gusto, volume so loud it could probably be heard halfway to my parents' house. We cut the cake, which was no small feat. Ice cream cake fights back. Suffering brain freeze, I asked,
Where on earth had this cake been hiding?
They proudly explained about the top secret operation they had collectively fulfilled. One person had purchased and picked up the cake. They then passed it in from the alley through one of the bathroom windows to an accomplice on the inside for hiding in the kitchen. The bathroom window was perilously close to the toxic waste pit that was the tile floor in there. Gulp. Gross. But worth it. At least they hadn't left it in the bathroom the whole time.
Whew!
I knew it was Jack's idea, but I don't know the outside collaborator or the inside accomplice. Maybe I knew once and it dissipated over the decades since. 16 felt like a doorway, one that might lead to wonders of new experiences or perils with Jack so far away. But I was walking through it with people I loved. And Steve. There have been a lot of birthdays since then, but this one is still my favorite. The wish, the bathroom window sneak, both have been lost to time. But I'll never forget the sound of their voices, the flicker of the candles, the smell of oregano, the taste of ice cream, and the feeling of being exactly where I was supposed to be. Thank you for listening. These are my memories, and maybe they echo yours too. I must have forgotten, but I remember now. All writing, editing, and sound design are by me as a labor of love. If you enjoy I Must Have Forgotten, please support the show by liking, subscribing, and leaving me a kind review on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube. It truly helps other listeners to find me. Sound design for this episode includes excerpts from MuseHub and Pixabay. These audio textures help carry the memory, shape the emotional arc, and are honored with gratitude here.